Welcome back to your reading. Thanks for joining me. This is part 2 of the trouble with dating over 40. Guys, I'm being drawn to this mermaid and the turtle energy. The feeling that I'm getting around this is one of lessons. Now, life is all about cycles. Life is about stages. Life is about transformation. There's an energy here of having to go through many little deaths when we're alive. It becomes even worse as we get older because the changes are more pronounced and we're less able to deal with change the older that we get. So the feeling around this is one of being reborn after having lived a long time, after having lived through some difficulties in life. Coming through the fire here, like the phoenix, after having learned a lot of lessons. Now, it's how we see those lessons. It's how we see those challenges that we've met, and if we see it as something that has knocked us down, if we feel like we can't get back up again, if we feel like there was no lesson to learn there, that life was somehow punishing us, then that is that victim mindset. If we instead choose to see all of the challenges that we've had to overcome in life, if we still see that we're surviving, that we're able to stand up and say, okay, you know what, I came through the fire. And if you see yourself as a survivor rather than that victim, then that helps go through this change. There are many, many lessons that we have to learn in life, and they're all a benefit to us, the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's about being a good student of life, and I feel like the feminine here has been that good student of life. Now, they've been through a lot themselves. It may not show as much on the face for whatever reason. A lot of times, as I said, sometimes it's the feminine has an ability, to just take care of themselves a little bit more, just in general. I don't feel that's true of the younger set these days, but of the older set, then yeah, I feel that has been true. So women of a certain age tend to look younger these days. It's not that they haven't lived a hard life, they have, but they choose to see themselves as survivors rather than victims. And that comes out a lot as optimism, as a brighter outlook on their face, on their countenance. It comes out on their person, and it's an energy of coming into one's own, which is really, really nice. Now, if you remember back in the day, older men seem to age really, really well. The women not so much, right? But this I'm talking about a long, long time ago. That seems to have changed. Now seems to have been a bit of topsy-turvy energy there, where now the masculine energy feels somewhat diminished in age, and the feminine feels more empowered. It's quite empowering, actually, seeing one's age as not a problem, something to be endured, but rather as strength. And I feel that that's the difference here. The feminine is seeing what they've been through as empowering, as making them stronger, and seeing it as a badge of honor, kind of like going through their own battle, if you will. The masculine feels like the fallen soldier here. The feminine is still standing there with their shield on, saying, bring it on. And the masculine's fallen down in a heap. That's what I'm getting here. Feels very vulnerable as a result. So there's something to be learned from the feminine here, but will the masculine be receptive? I wonder. Now, a lot of it, as I said, has to do with finding that creative outlet with that once upon a midnight Drury there. You know, it's about how we view the tough times. We all go through those dark night of the souls, every single one of us. And as we age, we've probably been through a few, you know. So there's an energy of the masculine feeling like the feminine has not been through as much as them, which is not true. You know, that may have been true in the olden days when men went off to war, but now it's women take on just as much as men, and there hasn't been a war in this particular time period where these men have actually been off to battle. Because I'm not looking at the older veterans here. I'm looking at men probably in the 40 to 60 age group, 40 to 65, somewhere around that. They haven't been off. They haven't had that rite of passage. So there's an energy here of the feminine seeing themselves as as a soldier, and the masculine seeing themselves as the wounded warrior, so to speak. The energy that I'm feeling around this is one of putting out not just the pretty pictures, but also the not so pretty pictures. Okay, this is a message for the feminine. Not to cover up their own pain with the countenance, with the makeup, all of that. It's easier for the feminine to do that, to put on the mask, so to speak, and pretend that nothing bad has happened. To the outside world, it appears that way. But the feminine has actually experienced a lot, and it needs to come out. It needs to come out to the masculine, because there's something that the masculine can learn from what the feminine has learned to deal with in their life and still feel vibrant at a certain age. There's a lot to be learned from the feminine and the feminine's trials, because the feminine has struggled a lot. They've gone through a lot of, the feminine has gone through all of the change over the last, what's it been, 50, 60 years? Probably more like 50 years. Women's revolution, women had equal rights, women were able to have the same jobs as men. Still not paid equally for the majority, but there's still been a lot of inroads there, a lot of good things that have happened. But my point is that the struggle has been real for the feminine to be the breadwinner of a family, to be that single parent. This never used to happen many, many moons ago. So the feminine have struggled, and they're finding their rightful place in the world now. Now it's the masculine that's going through this change. It feels disempowering to the masculine. While the feminine has risen, the masculine feels disempowered. But rather than see this as something that is to be put down, the masculine instead really needs to see and look to the female struggle here as motivation for their own change at this point in their life. I also feel, strangely enough, that the older masculine can learn something from the younger masculine at this time when it comes to interacting more on an equal level with the feminine. Okay, let's take a look here, guys. I want to talk a bit about the energy of, well, actually, I want to pick up another card. Let's pick up another card. Let's change up. We'll put in some extra energy here. Message for this reading, please, Spirit Guides. Message for the feminine here, please, Spirit Guides. Message for the feminine. The word wants to be written. Again, it seems to be about getting the energy out of the female struggle. There's something here that the masculine can actually learn from our words. That we're not, there's almost like the new enemy, right? The masculine seeing the feminine as they always seem to need an enemy, and they want to be the hero. They're seeing themselves as the hero, unfortunately they seem to be viewing the feminine here as the enemy. With this, it's about putting out to the world why the feminine had to go through this change. It was not to take down the masculine, it was not to disempower the masculine at all. So when we're speaking, when we're talking, when we're putting out the message, we have to be, Spirit Guide is giving me a message, we have to be careful in the way that we express ourselves, because the masculine energy is very fragile. Now, they don't want to be seen as fragile, but they are fragile. And so we can hurt or wound unknowingly with our words. Going back to that energy of the mother here, the kindness, the kind mother, this is where that comes in. There's a time to be empowered and dominant, and there's still that part of ourselves which is the kind and nurturing energy. Marrying the two is not having one be dominant over the other, not having our masculine side become too dominant. It is about showing our sensitive side, not overly so to the detriment of our masculine side, but meeting in the middle, finding that happy compromise in the way that we approach the masculine, in the way that we speak, in the way that we write about them, all of that. To not be aggressive, but also being direct, but compassionate. There's an energy here of needing to be compassionate to the masculine, because we've already been through the experience of the struggle, the very real struggle of a changing in how we see ourselves and changing our roles. And how how we interact, how we live, our beliefs about the feminine and the role of the feminine has completely changed. So rather than be, it works both ways. Rather than be angry with the masculine for their struggles right now, we have to find it within ourselves to be compassionate. Now, that's not to say we have to take abuse. No, that's not what I'm saying here. If there's an abusive energy, then of course that is something that needs to be spoken about and then safely remove yourself from. No, this is about dealing with a masculine energy that is feeling lost, like losing their way, not having that outlet, and thereby being very confused with dating, confused with how to deal with this new feminine energy. Yeah, let's get another card here. Message for the feminine, please, Spirit Guides. What does the feminine need to hear? Okay, let's take a look. Softly, softly, the tender touch. Well, same energy, actually, that I was just picking up there. So it has to do with gentleness, being gentle with the masculine during their change. Yeah, it's in our nature to be so, but some of us have become so used to needing to be to show our more masculine energies in the workplace in order to get ahead in life. But Spirit Guide is saying we can temper that, and we can get our needs met, we can get what we want using a softer touch, not by aggressive force. It's meeting aggressive force by the masculine with a tender touch. It disarms the masculine, Spirit Guide is saying, if we don't fight back. Again, I'm not talking about abusive situations here. Again, I'm just feeling like this is like somebody who's trying to push our buttons. Let's see what else I've got here, Spirit Guides. What else do you have? Let's get a message here. Actually, I feel compelled to get one from the True Love reading cards. The message here, Spirit Guides. What does the masculine need to hear? Okay, self-respect. Okay, let's take a look here. And what does the feminine need to hear, Spirit Guides? What does the feminine need to hear? What does the feminine need to hear? Spiritual maturity. Okay, let's talk about these. Well, when we talk about self-respect, self-respect is the key to how other people treat you. Sometimes, I get this. Part of being mature, part of the growing in life, part of learning from life is learning when to walk away. So it's what I was talking about before with the abusive situations. For those of you who are struggling with people, with the masculine who is being abusive, this is about loving yourself more than the need to have love in your life, and to walk away when it's necessary to do so. That could be happening for some of you here. This softer touch, if you apply that soft touch and it still doesn't work, and they're still doing this battle, like this battle zone here, or God forbid, abusive situation, then you really do have to speak up in a kind way, and walk away from situations that are damaging to you. You have to act from your authenticity here, your integrity. Absolutely, that's part of maturity. Sometimes in the past, I think a lot of women compromised their self-respect for security or for survival. It was necessary back then because women were reliant upon men. But obviously it's very unhealthy, and for those of us who remember our mothers or grandmothers going through abusive situations, then this will ring true. So look at ways in which you compromise yourself. If you feel like you're compromising yourself in order to secure or maintain a relationship, then I feel this is about living a fulfilling life that leads from your own truth, a life of integrity. So Spirit Guide is giving you the message there, a very important message of For some, it may be just knowing when to walk away, when the masculine is seeking to dominate or seeking to somehow force the feminine to do things or be in situations that are not, I feel that are unhealthy or toxic. It's not about the need to, you don't have to compromise. See, that's the thing. That's the change here. Women no longer have to make compromises to be in a relationship, because we have that healthy self-respect. Not that women of older generations didn't have self-respect, they did, but they had to be there because they had to survive. It was a survival thing. They couldn't just go off and get a job and do all of that thing and take care of the children on their own. No. Different times. But these days we can. We have the freedom to do this, and that should be cherished. We're no longer prisoners. We're no longer forced into like a servitude, which was sometimes the case in days gone by. Goodness, yes. Now I want to talk about the divine feminine and the divine masculine for a moment. Now, when we talk about the distorted masculine, well, it's characterized by an unwillingness to trust, someone who ignores their emotions, is not in touch with their intuition, someone who insists on a very logical or rational approach. It's an old way of being that is obsolete. So the distorted masculine feels like they are like the ruler, right? The petty dictator. But if we look closer, we can see that the masculine's refusal to acknowledge, to support the feminine is actually causing him to suffer. So there's a sense of suffering here around this older way of being for the masculine. Yeah. The distorted masculine loves power for the sake of it. Separateness rather than togetherness. They'd rather be right than be happy. They tend to work within a win-lose dynamic where there can be only one winner. They take advantage. And it's natural for them. You know, we often see this in corporate, even in the way that the world has gone, all of the damage that has been created in the world. Now, the feminine could potentially feel helpless in the face of that kind of force, but there's that soft underbelly I was talking about, that vulnerability, that Achilles heel. And that's the feminine. Because without the feminine to nurture, to feed, to nourish this masculine, it can't survive, it withers. Yeah. So it's about, the masculine needs to find more of, as they age, that they're being called to bring on more of the feminine energy in order to survive, in order to nourish their own being. But in order to do that, I feel some of that old masculine energy needs to fall away and die, so to speak, so that they can be reborn better, stronger, and more incorporating their more feminine side. That's what I'm seeing here. Yeah. Now, the distorted feminine can be equally destructive, of course. The distorted feminine can be characterized by negativity, being overly emotional, depression, neediness, drama, feeling unattractive, or feeling trapped or powerless. The feminine may even be self-deceiving by not saying what she really means, or being unclear about what she needs, and not speaking out or speaking up. I was talking about the need to be direct, open and honest, transparent, without being aggressive. And that's what I see here. So the feminine has a role to play as well. Sometimes the feminine can become angry or upset with the masculine and hold it in. That's not something that is healthy either. It's really about being direct and communicate. I had that card of communication. Where did Hermes go? I've lost Hermes. He was here a while back. Anyway, I had that card of communication of Hermes, and that's what I see here. The need to communicate open and honestly, to release any kind of build-up of what's troubling the feminine and get it out. But in a truthful way, yes, but without being overly dramatic, overly emotional, in which is going to trigger the masculine's response, negative response in them. There can be a tendency sometimes of the distorted feminine to guilt or shame the masculine as well. Blame shifting. Being honest with yourself is a huge first step towards empowerment. This feminine energy. For both, but in this particular case I'm talking about the distorted feminine. So being honest where you haven't been true to yourself, where you have denied how you felt or covered it up in order to appease, in order to be in a relationship, in order to be loved. To look at that with see yourself stripped bare, see yourself stripped of all of the armour that we wear, the barriers that we put up against. And women have put up barriers, women have put up a lot of armour towards the masculine. Feeling like we need to, because we feel like we've had to fight for our rights, right? We've had to fight to get empowerment. But this is about taking off some of that armour and becoming vulnerable and soft again. So I feel like we're talking about similar energies with the divine masculine and the divine feminine needing to take off both of their armour here and just find love, find unconditional love and support each other rather than this battleground that I'm seeing here. Guys, it's not us versus them. Yeah, let's see. I'm going to pull some more cards. Okay, Spirit Guides, what is the message here? Message here, Spirit Guides, what do I need to hear? What do we need to hear? What do we need to hear? Spirit Guides, what is the message? What do we need to hear? Okay, I've got the card of Trillium. I also want to get one more here. Another message. And Spirit Guides, what is the message here? And Wild Violet. Okay, let's take a look at those. I want to start with the card of Trillium there. Now, Trillium is about self-love, a very delicate kind of energy around the feminine, gentle in nature, a tender energy. It's this nurturing feeling that I'm getting here. Tenderness, shelter from life's storms, kind of like wrapping your fairy wings around the vulnerable, giving love, giving comfort, unconditional love. Yeah, it's a lightness of being, allowing the feminine to be nurturing. Yeah. It's a beautiful energy. Part of that is the feminine here giving up the need to be stronger, giving up the need to win. But it's not about disempowerment either and yielding to the point of submitting or submission. No, it's finding that balance where you stand up for yourself, speak your truth, remain authentic and empowered, but do so from your feminine side without losing that feminine side. Now, when it comes to wild violet, the energy around that one, well, I'm getting a very strong energy around that of new love, romance. It's kind of like, finding a new way to love, finding, instead of finding it like a combat zone. And this is a message for both the masculine and the feminine. This is about bringing romance back into it. A relationship needs to be based on mutual respect, honesty, and love. And small things can go a long way. You don't have to make the grand gesture here. It can just be remembering to give a kiss, a hug, listening to your partner as well, finding time for your partner, building a relationship based on love and honesty and compassion for each other going through difficult stages in life, not this combat energy. So that's the energy that I'm feeling here, bringing these two energies together, is finding, by the feminine meeting the masculine's kind of, I get kind of like a grudge, a resentment against the feminine, feeling like they've got this enemy. If you meet that with this energy of strength, honesty, but love and compassion and care, then that will go a long way in the masculine opening up and becoming more vulnerable in their change and what's going on with their life. So rather than battle, rather than see you as the enemy, rather than retreat into their shell here, they will become more empowered to open up in their own way. If the feminine doesn't bring down or doesn't blame or point the finger at the masculine in whatever way the masculine is triggered, possibly in some way it feels like this energy here of not feeling like they have lived up to expectations, their own expectations. If the masculine can be empowered to see their disappointments, their difficulties, the challenges that they've overcome in their life in a different way, if they can see their failures as stepping stones to success rather than something that they can't recover from, something that drags them down, then this will go a long way in the masculine being able to build themselves back up. Yeah, but this is something that masculine needs to do for themselves. But here's where it gets a bit tricky, because I feel like underlying the masculine doing this seemingly for themselves is a strong undercurrent of the feminine being the motivator, but not forcing, not in an overt way. It's just by being this comfort, being this strength, building this masculine energy up in a very authentic, real way. I'm not saying say things that are untrue or just ego boost someone. No, this is coming from a place of love and care and support. That supportive energy. It's kind of like the feminine is acting like if you see the buildings that are being rebuilt after they've been destroyed, there's that scaffold that holds the main bones together. It feels like the feminine is acting as that here. Let's see what else we have here from my spirit guides. I'm going to get a card from the Moonology deck. What else does the masculine need to hear, spirit guides? What else does the masculine need to hear? What else does the masculine need to hear? Conclusions are within reach. That's beautiful. The full moon eclipse. Well, that's double power, isn't it? Because we not only have the power of the full moon, but we also have the power of eclipse, which is very powerful. The two of those together is it feels like destruction, actually, being honest. But what comes after major destruction? Rebuilding, after the storm, after the chaos. And that's what I'm seeing here. The full moon eclipse. Okay, now with this energy, it's like reaching a peak, reaching a culmination. With the Wheel of Fortune and the King of Swords, it feels like that. It feels like something that is inevitable. Inevitable change, right? The inevitable onset of realizing that we've aged. That when we look in the mirror, we're not 20 anymore. It's an inevitability. It happens to us all. And that change is out of our hands. But we do have, there's an element of destiny here, an element of time, but we still have control. You know, we have more control than what we realize here. Yeah, it's a soul growth, learning, an evolving soul, allowing the events to unfold, and the need to be easy on yourself during change. While you're letting go of the past, letting go of the old you. Yeah, gosh. It feels like one door slams shut, and of course some energies here could potentially just keep the door slammed shut and go away and hide. Now that would not be good, of course. So there's an energy here of opening up another door to get back out there, get back on track. Full moons are always about endings, conclusions. Full moon eclipses are the same, but they're like pumped up. The energy is times 1,000. It's like they're on steroids. Change, big change. And all of us are uncomfortable with change. But of course it's constant. It's going to happen. And I feel that during this change, a lot of times we have to work through that, a lot of shadows, a lot of demons, a lot of things that we have been able to kind of, in our younger selves, ignore, gloss over. We tend to see more of the warts, all of the bad things, the things that we don't like about ourselves at this point in life. And I feel that that's where the masculine is at the present time. They're facing this dark night of the soul, they're facing those demons, but it is bringing them towards the light. It's bringing this more shadow energy out into propelling them into the light. But I feel that it depends on the masculine. Not everyone is the same here, but the sooner they accept inevitable change here, the easier this coming out into this new way of being will be. The spirit guide is giving me a message. The masculine can't win this war. It's almost like they're seeing this change in the masculine and feminine energies as a war. They can't win this war. If they attempt to try to win this, then they're going to go down in defeat, and they're just going to end up the loser in all of this. But they have a choice here. And if they can see this as necessary change, if they don't feel like they need to control the change, if they submit to the change, if they accept the change and allow it to happen, if they allow it to unfold, see the benefits of it, then they will go easier into this change. And that's for certain. Let's see, what needs to be surrendered here, spirit guides? What needs to be surrendered? What needs to be surrendered? What needs to be surrendered here, spirit guides? Surrender to wonder and awe. Yeah. You know what? By the feminine keeping a positive attitude during this time, not letting the masculine get to them, because my goodness, they're a bit of a misery guts, I have to say. So you could be dealing with the masculine that is just, you try to date them and you get all of this negativity, you get a lot of this projection onto you, and rather than have that affect you, of course, if it's affecting you in a negative way, walk away with your own self-respect. You don't need to put up with this. But more often than not, it's something relatively minor, something that you can actually combat with positivity. And I'm not saying be overtly happy all the time. No, it's not about that. It's just about going easier into the change. Spirit guide is giving a message of, okay, going in and out of the change, bringing the positive and the negative. So not being positive all the time, but bringing some negative into it will allow this masculine energy to kind of meet you with that energy as well. So rather than be all negative, they will meet you with more positivity. So it's not about negative, positive, it's about you bringing the positive and negative aspects to this and them meeting you. Okay, all right. Let's see what else we have here. Message for this reading. What needs to be surrendered, spirit guides? What needs to be surrendered, please, spirit guides? What needs to be surrendered? Surrender to silence, yeah. When the masculine needs to retreat, allow them the time. Don't chase after them, allow them the space. See that as time for you as well, rather than needing to fill the space or to fill the silence with your energy. It's a time for you to retreat and give that love, give that compassion back to yourself if the masculine is not accepting of it. What else needs to be surrendered here, spirit guides? What else needs to be surrendered, please? What else needs to be surrendered? What else needs to be surrendered here, spirit guides? What else needs to be surrendered? Okay, surrender to non-action. Yeah, again, the feminine doesn't really have to do anything other than what spirit has said here. This is very high priestess energy. There's a sense here of knowing, of understanding, of knowing what's going on behind the curtain of this masculine. The Emperor has no clothes. Okay? So seeing the bluster, seeing the bravado for what it is, and not needing to do or say anything about it. Retreat from it if it becomes too forceful, controlling, in your face, or abusive. I'm getting that. What else needs to be surrendered here, Spirit Guides? What else needs to be surrendered? What else needs to be surrendered here, Spirit Guides? What else needs to be surrendered? And surrender to rest and sleep, yeah. So while letting this masculine go off and fight their own inner demon here, you don't have to slay that dragon. That's their dragon to slay. Take the time to heal, to rest yourself. It'll do you the world of good as well. You know, you don't have to fight this person's battles for them. Now, their mother may have done that in the past, but that's not your role. It's not the role of the modern woman either. I'm getting that. Let's see. A message here for the Divine Feminine, please, Spirit Guides. What does the Divine Feminine need to hear with this message? Proceeding softly. Proceed with caution, because this can be, it's like poking a bear. You don't have to be overt in your power. Your power comes from a softer approach. Absolutely. And there's power in allowing this person to go off and do their own growing, to fight their own battles there. Finding power in that quieter energy, not feeling like you need to take action on this. It's important. You will gain the most from holding, well, I get it as withdrawing your energy, but again, not in a controlling way or a manipulative way. It's just giving yourself, acting from a place of maturity here and self-respect, and walking away from battles that aren't your own. Let's see what else. Spirit Guides, let's get a message for the Divine Masculine. What does the Divine Masculine need to hear, please, Spirit Guides? Okay, embarking on an adventure and sharing of yourself. Okay, so this is new. This is new energy here. A new beginning. A release of the old, and a new way of living, which includes opening up and being more generous, sharing of oneself. I get this as speaking, not hiding, not withdrawing, not being fearful of opening up. Yeah, so that's part of the journey here. This is freeing for the masculine, this energy. Again, I feel like the younger masculine energies are already there. They're more in touch with this more feminine side of themselves. For the older masculine energy, this is something brand new, and they're fearful of it. I get a fear associated with this new way of living. But if they can see this as something that is freeing, something that allows their inner self to be free, frees them up from the confines, the constraints of how the masculine role was in the past, which was very limiting, I feel. If they can see it as this change that they're going through is actually going to free themselves, it's going to allow them to live much more fulfilling lives, freer lives. If they can see that, then I feel that this is going to be easier for them to go through this transition, to go through this change. And if they can have something to look forward to as well, like travel, whatever they've wanted to do here, some kind of youthful adventure. It could be like writing a book, even if it's not, or just watching an adventure show, seeing the world for its openness, so looking at the world with wonder and awe rather than one that is closed to them, or I get that kind of like a jail cell here, breaking free of the confines and opening up and expanding their life here. A new adventure. If they could see this part of their life as a new adventure, one that's different, very different from the past, and see this as a good thing rather than scary. Yeah. Well, I'm going to leave it there, guys, and wish you all the very best with this. Thanks again for watching. If you'd like a personal reading, you can email me, gypsyinsights@gmail.com. Thanks again. Please do follow me here on Vimeo if you'd like. And bye for now.